Anyway, so everybody should have this announcement. Basically, it just has the, if you don't have your Murphy story with you, I put the Murphy story in there that I thought worked well. That was written well. And I pretty much did what I asked for, but you don't have to use that one, but this photo we're going to use, okay? All right, so basically what I'm going to show you is how to essentially input a story and a photo into, I don't really deal with a video, but it'll be the same principle, but how to do that into a system, okay? Typical news system, right? It's funny, I actually kind of get teased a bit because of the, I'm using like a really antiquated, remember blogs? We used to call them blogs. Now they have vlogs, right? Well, I mean, they don't really call them that so much anymore, right? Or they do and they don't. But that was like a big thing in the 2000s. You got a blog, you know, it's old now, right? Well, anyway, I feel like, I know there's other programs out there like WordPress and that sort of thing, but I use for this, for the purposes of this exercise, I just use Blogger, which is a Google-based program, okay? And so this is, again, this is going to have an element of duh to it, okay? Like it probably, maybe all of you have done this kind of thing already, maybe some of you, I don't know. But the point of this is to show you that the whole idea of actually inputting something into a system and getting it published is not that difficult, okay? Which is again kind of the whole idea of this whole class, is that trying to show you guys that like in order to be a successful journalist and media producer, you know, it doesn't really require like, you know, becoming a New York Times writer or again, Scorsese. It actually requires like some tasks that actually be quite simple, okay? It's all, everything is about simplification. And, you know, it was interesting because like, we used to have these, back in the day, when the internet first came around in 1995, really, for us, for everybody, newspapers, again, were kind of behind. Everybody was behind. TV was behind, everybody was behind. TV news. They didn't like quite grasp it right away. There's this thing called Wayback Machine. If you guys have ever seen it, but you can actually look up the first New York Times. I think it is, actually, why not? We go all the time. You can actually see what the first New York Times, or one of the first New York Times online editions looked like. Okay. Oops. Oh, it's a little different from what I remember. All right, it's not going there. Hold on. Let's see. Let's do this. Anyway, I think there's a whole thing I have to go through. Whatever. I'm not even sure this is really it. I think this might be some crap. Hold on a second. All right, come on, guys. Oh, yeah, this is it. Oops, I'm sorry about that. All right, yeah, let's try this. HTTP. Let's see here. You go back to, oh, the earliest they have is 98. They had it like 2 years before then. December 12th. Let's see what it looked like. It's gonna look, oh, well, anyway, doesn't really process very well. Yeah, Joe DiMaggio was still alive. My God. Let's look at this, right? Yeah, it's like this is basically how wide it was. You know, everything is stretched out over here. Okay, so that's one big difference. You know, basically they didn't put everything on here that was in the that was actually in the newspaper. Okay, Well, this is during the Monica Lewinsky scandal, President Clinton. Wow. They had that on there, but they didn't really do much to actually really kind of dress things up or package stuff or anything like that. Joe DiMaggio, one of the famous athletes in the history of the United States, is dying. A lot of stuff about Clinton. Markets, but it was very small, very kind of compressed. Really not much to it. I mean, they actually went through different versions of this. The 96 version was even worse. It just showed like 2 headlines and that's it, right? So anyway, now you can see like difference here. Okay. Yeah, much better now, right? The funny thing is though, is that first version I showed you actually took a lot more to actually get the stories in there than they do now. They've perfected that technique. Back then, they were still using terminals and computers and everything from like the 1970s. I'm not kidding. Right? But probably the best system was this thing called Coyote. Right? But we actually a lot of newspapers didn't get Windows-based programs. Not just saying that Windows-based programs until 2000. Okay, so. And once they did that, they had like systems that again that were like kind of complicated. It was like, you had to like go here to go there to go here to go there. It was crazy. So eventually, probably I would say about maybe 10, 12 years ago, they finally developed a system that was, I would say, was very similar to what Blogger does, okay, and what WordPress does, okay, and it became a system where you essentially, this is where I try to get the headline right today, okay. Where you basically like put in your own story, put in your own photo, and you put in your own headline, and then you can also put in your own graphic and put in your own video, okay, and do it yourself, all right? All right, so what I'm going to ask you guys to do actually is to go to blogger.com. I'm going to give you a password that I will probably change like probably later today because it's probably not a password I should be sharing with everybody, but whatever. All right. So if you just go to blogger.com, all right, and you go to sign in, okay. All right. And what I'm going to ask you guys to do actually is to go to sign in with tddink@gmail.com. This I'm actually going to have to actually approve you guys to get in there. So I'll get ready for that. Because now it's a 2-touch system now, okay? Is everybody with me on that? Okay. All right, then this is actually my wife's name. Just do Kathleen. Okay. And you should then see my blogs. I had like several, I had different blogs here, but 3 of them really. But my guess is that again, you're going to have to be approved to get in. What does it say? I thought maybe if I keep doing this, they're probably going to say like get lost. Google's going to say like Tom Davis, you're doing something bad. So, lowercase q. Yeah, it's actually with a K. Yeah. Oh, yeah, T. T as in Tom, D as in dog, D as in dog, I, N as in Nancy, K. I could never get Tom Davis as a shot, right? Anybody else? I got 3 of you. Everybody in except. Just waiting for the. Everybody else in? Okay. All right. So you go to the top left here. Okay, you should see a different choices for blogs. Okay. Go to the one that says Rutgers Reporter Next and click on that. And you see we did this in section 2 already. So there's a bunch of whoever, if there's anybody actually reads this, saying, like, what the fuck? So, all right, everybody see a list of Murphy announces new COVID plan? All right, so all right, so this is basically the kind of thing you would look at if you were actually like, you know, went to work at 9 a.m. and after you surf the internet. Said, all right, I'll start working. You know, you would look at your library and say, like, all right, I got stories to write. You know, so if I was at Patch, you'd probably be up. Actually, if you were my job at Patch, you'd be up at 5 a.m. But I was a New Jersey editor, so it was different. But if you were not, you would probably post the stories at like 8 a.m., 9 a.m. Yeah, and like actually the typical best time to actually post news stories were typically like 9 a.m. when people were first getting to work, you know, usually before they go to lunch, because again, this is when they check the unit, right? After they get back from lunch, right? I know, probably some of you are saying, like, what is lunch? Maybe then right before they, well, again, they haven't been doing this so much lately, they're getting in the car to go home, you know, so, or signing off for the day. And then actually right before they go to bed. Okay? All right, so you would see this now. So you gotta do a story, okay? So again, you guys, does everybody see? Everybody said if you don't have it, it's fine. But does everybody have the have their version of the Murphy story? If you don't, again, there's. If you don't, again, there's a version for you guys to use. That's there. It's in the announcement. What I am going to ask you to do actually is to save that photo, save it wherever, save it on your desktop, whatever the photo that's actually in the announcement. Saving the announcement I have. Just, if you could please save that photo, just put it somewhere where you can access it. Okay. All right. Okay. So now again, this isn't exactly how things work, but typically this is what you would see. You would see essentially two things. You would see place for the headline, which is the very top here, where it says title, okay? And then you would see the body, right? All right. And it's in what they call rich text form, okay? Now, another reason why I bring this up is because sometimes people come into this class, and I don't blame them, thinking that maybe we're going to do coding and stuff like that. I know that now they teach that. Well, this is going to be an old man thing to say. I know they've been teaching this for a while. Actually, they have like classes in coding and stuff like that. And then people in media think that people going into media think that maybe that's something they have to learn. Well, it's not. Typically, is HTML coding. Okay, you'll be able to access that by going here. Actually, that's funny. Actually, it should be in Compose View. That's Compose View. I'm sorry. Just make sure this, go to this icon right here and make sure the pen is showing. Okay. That's the rich, what they call rich text form, basically how it will appear when it's published. If you wanted to actually like do stuff that, there you go, there's the HTML, that's typically used with this symbol, the less than and greater than sign. I'm just telling you that just to let you know that it's not something I need to know, okay? All right, so HTML coding is what's basically on the inside of your story. It's what basically designs the page, okay? And again, that's like a whole other class to have. And they probably have it here at Rutgers, I'm guessing. Maybe not, I don't know. We should have it, but anyway, when does that become something you need to know? Well, if you were actually like working in journalism or something, then, you know, sometimes you do a lot of, sometimes you have to rely on things like embedding, you know, everybody knows that, right? Basically, you take something maybe like, actually, especially like things like accidents, breaking news, stuff like that. We often have to do things like take things off Twitter, take things off of YouTube, because that's where people stash their videos. They get very excited sometimes, a little too excited when they see something happen, they take a video, you know. And sometimes we've seen actually those things turn into stories, right? We've seen that happen with police shootings, you know. It's becoming a very important tool, you know, to find out what's going on in the world, in the United States, okay? So in that particular case, you actually, you know, a typical YouTube video has an embed code, right? I know you guys know this already, so, but yeah, right. Let's, you know, typically it would be like, you know, where do they put it? They put it in share now, right? Yeah, embed right there. There it is. So that's actually HTML coding right there. Okay. What you could do is you could take that coding and then you would put it in the actual HTML part, you know, wherever it needs to be located, you know. But actually what typically happens is there's a place for embedding, and you know, news organization will actually set up like put like an icon where all you have to do is like click on something and it'll say like put it here, you know. They do that with photos, they do that with linking, they do that with videos right here, okay? All right. Anyway, that's just something for you guys to know, that you don't, I mean, it's actually, I would really strongly recommend learning HTML coding of some sort, because it actually helps to be like that one person in the office who knows how to do this stuff when something goes completely, because something always goes completely, okay? You know, actually 20 years ago, and I told you about that Windows-based system, not patting myself on the back here. You know, I don't even know, but like it was like something I was already dealing with, you know, like I already had like Windows at home, and, you know, Windows 95 and stuff. But like the people who were like 60, 70 years old, you know, they were like, they started in newspapers back when they were typewriters, okay? So, you know, they were totally intimidated by this stuff. You know, so I actually found myself being the guy kind of walking around saying, push this button here, push this button there, don't worry, the story's not gone. You know, sometimes they would actually kill their story by accident. You know. So it actually helps if you want to really like build up your resume and actually be like that person, you know, who can be helpful, you know, be a troubleshooter. Learn how to be a troubleshooter. It actually pays, okay? All right. All right, so I'm gonna ask you guys to do the first step here, because actually we're all gonna take your stories and put them in here, okay? I'm gonna ask you to take that Murphy story, okay, and put the photo in here. And actually, I meant to actually, you can actually just right click here or whatever, or two finger click. Say I'm gonna save it to the desktop. It should be called screenshot, okay? So where do they usually put the photo in a news story? Well, they actually, here's the thing. The internet, you know, and again, this is probably again, just common sense. You know, the photo is actually typically placed at the top of a news story. Not every single organization, but news organization, but and oftentimes they'll take like photos and weave them through the story, the body of the story. But there almost always is like some photo at the very top of the story. Okay. And there's a reason for that. And that's because the internet is very much a visual medium. Okay. I mean, that's the kind of the whole idea here, you know. That's why like a lot of newspapers, you know, they don't really like pay so much attention to their what they call the dead tree edition anymore. The one that someone used to throw at your door as a subscriber, or it's in 7-Eleven or Wawa or something like that. Okay. But what they really want to do is they know that actually like people want to look at a story and they want to look at a story that is visually appealing. Okay. That's an important thing. And one of the first things they want to see typically is a photo. And that's why it's, and then and this is the kind of thing that they determine by doing surveys and just like, just looking at like, the comments on the story, everything. They look at everything and try to gauge what the reader is interested in, okay? One of the first things they typically want to see is like a visually appealing photo, okay? Again, I'm going to use the New York Times again. Actually, I just go right here, right? I mean, here's a story about, this could be like a very boring visual story, but they made they tried, okay? Republicans gaining heavy House edge in 2022 as gerrymandered maps emerge. Wow. And what do? They show a man with two maps, okay? Again, the idea is to try to grab your attention with something visually before they actually put the words on paper, okay? Words on the screen, I mean, right? So that's what we're gonna do here, okay? So all you do is actually take that photo and actually click on the insert image icon, okay? You can upload from computer. You choose the file. Mine's right, oh, mine's still there. And then you click on the upload, it comes here, okay? And then hit, and I think actually you have to click on, the photo itself. You with me so far? Hit select, and there it is, okay? I'll see, we'll do that, yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll go to the. All right. So remember I was showing you that thing from like 1998 where the screen was like compressed all the way over the left. Well, now everything is very much wide. So this is the odd conundrum, the odd contradiction about news publications on the web is that you have the situation where you see a lot of white space over here and over here. You want to make that photo about as large as you possibly can. This one actually is a little bit on the small side. I was actually looking for something that actually, let's try this one. No, not that one. But you can see that they actually try, you want to try to have something that basically like fills the screen. That's not doing it either. The story I was showing the other day actually had the photo out here more, okay? The story was like this, okay? You want to have something that is large and as visible as possible, I would say. And I'm still not seeing like, anyway, so I would just say that basically this is too small in its present. It's also centered, which is fine. Typically the story itself is actually not centered, okay? But the photo is. So if you can, I'd like you to actually try to if you click on the photo itself, just make that bigger, maybe out to here about, I would say. Even more so. All right. Hey, it's Governor Murphy, just reelected. Yeah, I know. Yes, I know. About that, huh? This opponent finally conceded. Wow. All right. So that's the start of your story now. Okay, it's something visual. Okay, it's a package. All right. And it's not the worst photo in the world. I mean, what is it? Does this photo tell you anything other than it's Governor Murphy? Remember I talked about the rule of thirds? There's probably I'd say one item there that sticks out, kind of basically tells you what kind of state we're in right now still. What do you think that is? Yeah, the mask, especially the one that's kind of hanging off his ear. I mean, I know it sounds almost like duh, but I mean, these are important symbols, that's part of the story. Okay. He's obviously probably, I mean, and we're posting a story about the coronavirus, so it fits. Murphy and the coronavirus. Okay. All right. So typically news photos have captions. Okay. This doesn't have the greatest caption component in the world, but if you click on the photo itself, you'll see it's right here. okay? It's this thing with an A and an underline. If you click on that, it says add caption, okay? This is extremely important, actually, okay? I'll tell you why. There's this whole, I might have actually talked about this already, but I'll tell you again. There's this whole Wild West that's going on with photos on the internet, right? And photographers are getting pissed off. 10 years, I mean, a lot of them have lost their jobs, you know, because now, like, much of what I'm demonstrating to you guys is that you can take photos yourself. It's unfortunate because there's a lot of great photographers, you know, and a lot of them actually now are actually coming back and saying, what the hell? You're using my photo, and they never give you permission to do that. Because people just pull stuff off the internet, you know, but it's not, right? So you typically have to make sure that actually, you know, this photo is something that actually you can use, you know, they're all copyrighted. This is actually a photo you can use, we can use. This is actually from Governor Murphy himself. He has his own Flickr page, right? Yeah. So they try to be cool, right? He doesn't have a TikTok video yet, but he could be really corny, so give him time. You know, my daughter, like, she just like hates that. Like when people my age and older like try to be cool, you know, she's like, oh my God. She went to visit her brother at Boston University the other day. Yeah, this is so bad. And then like I kind of teased them because they went to hockey game, and after the hockey game, I said, "What are you guys gonna do now? Party?" And they were like, oh, "Okay, boomer," you know. And then I said, then I sent them a thing of John Belushi, like going toga, toga, and she was like, "Who's that?" And she was like, and I think I got the OMG. And, they'll be dads and moms, maybe. I don't know. Maybe won't. I don't know. Anyway, we're just gonna like put in a caption here, okay? Just put in Governor Murphy, it's fine. And but what's typically done is like you actually put a slash and Flickr, okay? Which is how you spell it, I forget. Anyway, so just to give it credit from where it's coming from, okay? See that? You got it. All right, just want to make sure that it's credited, okay? A lot of times the captions are shifted or on the aligned to the left. Whatever, we'll just leave that one there. Let's try now. Let's get out of caption mode. Okay, so you should be able to click. Don't hit return there because you'll stay in caption mode. Click outside of it. Click here. Okay. Everybody able to do that? The other day we were having a hard time getting people out of caption mode. Yeah. Oh, you just go down. If we able to click out of caption mode, we had a little trouble with that. Good. Okay. All right. So this is here's the funny part. This is actually the most challenging part, actually, other than making a headline. Okay. A lot of these news systems. You know, as outdated as this Blogger. Okay. And what I strongly suggest, if you do go into new business, or if you've done it already or whatever, work at the target is they always make a comment, okay? And what people typically do is they actually start typing Google Docs or something, right? Just make sure you do something like that because what happens is you get problems. Sometimes like, you know, the system is like too old or whatever, it's not working right. It kills things like that happen. Okay? You gotta always be prepared for that to happen. That's something as old as the business itself. Okay, but they never have quite grasped getting the exact right computer program. I guess it's probably not limited to the journalism profession, but all right, but I mean, anyway. So what if we want to do first, if you could please just type your name. Just, I mean, the byline is typically they'll have like a byline function, but just put in your name, okay, by Tom Davis, okay, or whatever your name is, and then hit return, okay. So you would typically just type in your byline. Yes, I know, it's just that ridiculous. All right, so I'm gonna ask you guys to do is now take that news story, okay, that was in the announcement. And I'm gonna ask you to basically copy and paste. Okay. So you go down here and copy and paste. One thing you want to be careful about doing that, actually, the way I do it actually is I type, if you notice how it was in a different format from this, see, that's a problem. When you actually typically copy and paste, I usually do paste and match style, okay? Actually, I ended up doing the same thing anyway, whatever. So, all right. So you got that, okay? Now, you notice there's something not quite right about that, right? You see that? Give me 1 second, okay? All right. All right, so this is the kind of thing they typically have to go through because it doesn't quite, never really transfers things direct, okay? It's a pain, but that's what it does, okay? So you actually have to, sometimes have to do this kind of thing where you have to go through it. And pretty much every news story has the same style on the web. There's no indent, okay? So if you have an indent, make sure you take that out of your graphs, okay? And there's usually just one line of space. There's always one line of space between the paragraphs, okay? So make sure that's done, okay? All right. I'm just showing you some of the real world experience here. I'll show you what to do with that link in a sec, okay? Okay. Yeah. All right. So you with me so far on that? Are we good? Okay. All right. All right. There's I think we have a couple places for links actually. Yep. All right. So you might remember, like very early on in the semester, I talked about search terms or keywords. Now you want to like do some stuff. That's one keywords, okay? You want to make two areas. You want to make sure that your story is searched for the Google algorithm, okay? One way to do that is to make sure you have good hyperlinks in them, okay? What Google hates is this, linking to the actual link, the actual URL. So what they typically do is they'll take the link, okay, and they'll wrap it around the keyword, a word that'll probably be searched for, okay? What do you think is probably like the one word that people are going to search for in this story more than any of them? What's that? Yes, thank you very much. COVID-19. So maybe we want to find a way to click on a part. I mean, we keep it in click here, but maybe put it here, okay? They like, this is what they like. I'm not telling you, I'm telling you also got truth there. Look, they like the hyperlink on a keyword, okay? Because it shows that you are a place where that people can go to for various kinds of information, and you can click through to it, okay? They like that. So maybe like put COVID here, I would say, or COVID-19, okay? Either one really is good. All right. What I would do actually here is I would actually hyperlink the entire sentence, okay? And then you would go here, paste the link here, and apply. And there it is, okay? All right. You can do some other hyperlinking in here too, but you know. But I just want to show you one place at least. Okay, so that's actually one of the very important ways to actually get people to look at your story, because they like the algorithm is programmed to look for things that actually are connected to big issues. Okay, And they want to show that you're actually a resource for those big issues, okay? All right, the other, probably the most important place of all though, is the headline, okay? The headline, remember that? We talked about that, right? All right. All right, so what makes a good headline? Well, the headline is and the headline, first of all, for the web, should try to contain at least one or two of these like search terms or keywords, because that's the big thing that Google looks for is that you have a headline, especially the first couple of graphs, because they also know that people typically only look at the headline the first couple of paragraphs, okay? See, but you want to make sure your headline has like some of the search terms in it. What are probably the two most important search terms for the story, actually? You mentioned one of them. What's the other one? Probably a term that's been searched for a lot the last couple of days. That's in your story. There's a guy sitting there. Oh, Murphy, yeah. So Murphy and COVID, okay? Maybe New Jersey, people were still in this mess of it, so it's like people might be looking for, I still search for things like, actually I was looking, when variants pop up, that sort of thing, I like to search for things like that, when actually I was telling you guys, a couple of you, beginning of the class, that like Murphy's actually talking about ending the mask mandate in January. You might actually see faces, so anyway, that might be something people are searching for, okay? So if people are searching for that and they hear about it, they'll search for it. They might actually not know across this story, okay? Because it'll pop up, COVID and Murphy. So even though people might be searching for an entirely different story, they might be a way to find yours, right? So what I actually like you guys to do now is actually go up to the title part up here and develop a headline for the story. Now, here's a couple things about headlines. First of all, again, it's like its own format, and they call it this. They call it headlineese. I don't know if that's actually an official term, okay? But this actually goes back again to the days when we used to lay out newspapers and we had to fit them in a certain size. But Google actually hates really long headlines also, okay? Actually, like people hate long headlines. They just hate them, okay? So there's a certain compressed quality to them, okay? And oftentimes you leave out things like prepositions, excess words, okay? Like is almost always left out, or maybe to or the, okay? All right. It's also typically written in like present tense. That's something different. That's basically trying to show people action, okay? It's trying to get people like there's something actively happening, okay? Just looking at some of the headlines here. I mean, that's why like one of the most famous headlines ever is from the 1948 election because it had the wrong person winning the presidency. Dewey defeats Truman. Not a sentence, right? Well, actually it is a sentence, but Dewey defeats Truman. But actually, if you wrote that in a sentence in the story, it would have been New York Governor Thomas Dewey has defeated Harry S. Truman. So that would be written like a sentence, right? Notice that, but then if you write in a headline, you take a bunch of those words out. You also take out the first name, because hopefully everybody knows who Truman is, right? And you say Dewey defeats Truman, okay? Here's another famous headline. Former president or the late President Ford, he wrote, Ford to city, drop dead. So New York, that was 1975, and New York City was begging for loans from the federal government. You guys ever see like movies from the 70s of New York City? Like two in particular, I think of are Taxi Driver and what's that Al Pacino movie? Where he holds people hostage in a bank. It's like really gritty New York. And that's pretty much a reflection of what New York looked like. 42nd Street didn't have all the Disney stuff and everything. It was pretty much just X-rated porn stuff all over the place. All that stuff up and down, you know. So yeah, Ford the City, drop dead. Oh God, yeah, this is probably the most famous New York Post headline ever, and I'm sorry, this is actually really gross. Headless body and topless bar. Anyway, I don't encourage that, but that's like tabloid stuff. You're obviously gonna like try to write a longer headline than that because that's actually like, yeah, that's like the stuff tabloids still care about the printed edition. You know what I mean by tabloid, like Daily News and New York Post. They put that headline, it kind of squeezes in there, and it's like shocking, over the top stuff, All right. Yeah, I mean, we're going from more like the New York Times end of the World War II. I'm sorry, it wasn't end of World War II. It was actually end of the European front of World War II. It says armistice. What's that word? Armistice. Sorry, armistice signed. End of the war. Berlin seized by revolutionists. New chancellor begs for order. Ousted Kaiser flees to Holland. Okay, so that's more of what we're kind of going for. Okay. The Daily News headline that day was probably "War over" or something, or whatever. Nazis defeated or something. All right. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to actually follow that example now. Oh yeah, men walk on moon. That was when people first landed on the moon, right? Men walk on moon. They should have said people or humans or whatever, but this was 1969, unfortunately. So anyway. So let's try to think of actually in a 9/11, I came across the statement from them. The headline was merely U.S. attack. That was at the New York Times. And then it had a longer kind of deck, what they call it. That's actually the stuff. There's usually like a headline, like underneath the headline, you see that's actually called different things. We're not going to write that. But that's either called like a deck, they call it a subhead, they call it a subgraph, all those different things. So anyway, we're just going to worry about the headline, okay? So what I want you guys to do is to think of a headline for your story here and put it up there. And give you guys about 5 minutes. So think of something, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And again, I want you guys to think of something that it still should be like an active voice, think noun, verb, but try to think of something that basically has essentially those two important keywords I talked about, Murphy and COVID. Okay, that's another thing, by the way. You notice how I said Ford the City, drop dead. A lot of times the title of that person is left off. It's not necessary if that person's well known. Important point about that in this state. The first name is left off often. Here's the funny thing about this, okay? The catch-22 is it's a judgment call every single time. When Governor Murphy was first elected in 2017, okay, became governor in 2018. I would say up until the coronavirus epidemic, nobody knew who he was. Everybody still thought that Chris Christie was the governor. So actually, this is the one exception where I couldn't just put the name on it. I often had to. Now I couldn't put like Murphy by itself in a headline, and also Google wouldn't search for it because I think Google still thought that Christie was still the governor. Well, remember Chris Christie, Bridgegate, ran for president, Trump supported the whole thing. So I often had to make sure that it said Governor Murphy, at least abbreviated, GOV period Murphy. I think now that's not a problem. Now Chris has been in office for almost 4 years. And, Murphy is well known due to the pandemic, and he just had this election that was really close. So I think it's fine to stay with it. You might want to because you don't want headlines too long. The NJ instead of New Jersey is used. Okay. Either one, that's actually a good search term too, obviously. Okay. All right, so let's do that if you can, please. 5 to 10 minutes on that. I'll go around and look. Yeah, just so you know, they're written in present tense. This is actually just totally a weird theory, but the idea like of putting headlines in present tense was again to kind of really grab readers' attention, to show action or a sense of urgency. That was the whole idea. That's why it's different, and they still do it to this day. So if you're ever wondering why it's different from the rest of the story, that's why. That's why I got into cases about the the worksheets I sent to you guys. So, all right. Let's figure this out here. Anybody have anything to show me? Yeah. And the amount of money is actually important, I think, because, you know, that actually like signifies, he's not giving $2 of it. He's not giving $2,000. Yeah, again, the idea being like trying to grab readers' attention. I mean, there is a bit of like a tabloid mentality that goes into this. Don't go ashamed about that. Or you know, actually another good. Actually, you also probably want to show that's good. Like a good verb would be like awards, you know, or gives. Or actually, the other one, I use a tabloid one that flops. Flops $60 million. Or yeah. Or some, you know, there's some outlets that maybe hate Murphy. They would probably say something like "throws away," you know. So. That's good. Analysis is fine. That's it. How much to it, right? Oh, I get you. Sorry to see. Yeah, keep. Also, I think the best thing
Like the money price stands out.
yeah. Yep. Because it's not like I said, it's not like 10,000, not 6, it's 60 million, right? Okay, cool. Yep. Yeah, you can add counties, municipalities. That, I mean, it helps with the accuracy of that. You know, that's actually like been a complaint that people have is that sometimes headlines leave out like certain elements. And sometimes I have to admit, journalists do that intentionally. You know, it's not right. That's essentially your clip. If they leave out counties and municipalities, I'm not saying this kind of case not bad. If they leave it out, right? It's not. It's fine. But sometimes actually, like journalists make the active decision to leave out something like that. And they'll say New Jersey, and they'll do that because they want to create an air of mystery to it. And they want people to click on the headline. They may think that like, oh, does that mean they're gonna like, you know, send a check to my mailbox? You know, what was the first question my wife had? Like, Biden's supposed to sign the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill today, right? And she said to me, "What's it mean for me?" I was like, "Well, they're gonna build roads and put people back to work." She was like, "Am I getting anything in the mail?" And I was like, and I was like, "No, but you know, I don't know. Maybe we get people back to work. You know, maybe we can start building things. Maybe we can like, I don't know, do something about these freaking, you know, supply chain problems and I don't know. I mean, it may not like help today or tomorrow, but you know, I think even after I went to that whole spiel, she still said, "Am I getting a check in the mail?" This is not what happened earlier. You know, remember when he passed the whole COVID? You look at everybody's. So that's really it, you know. Now what I can do actually is to hit publish. So typically there's like a button just like this one where you hit publish. Okay. I mean, if you hit preview, it'll just save it, but let's publish it. Okay. And then there's a reason why I want you to do that. Okay, because now we're gonna like take a look. We always should take a look at how it's actually published afterwards. Okay, because sometimes there's like kinks that happen. Okay, And one of those things typically involves the photo, okay? Sometimes this photo just doesn't publish correctly. So if you all can do that, I appreciate it. Then after you do that, if you go back to the, I think you're all in draft. Or maybe not, I don't know. Let me see. There's Malik. Yeah, see what happened? This is the, that's not your fault or anybody, okay? But this happened, it's weird. It happened to some people, it didn't happen to others because it's such an old program. See how narrow it is? It only showed Tammy Murphy, not Phil, right? So what you would have to do typically is you would actually go in and probably not, instead of like wasting time and trying to size that, I mean, one of the things you could do is obviously shrink the photo, you know? What's probably a better way of handling that? Because you obviously want Murphy in the photo, okay? No disregard for Tammy. You want Murphy in the photo because Tammy was working the money. So what would you do to this photo to make it fit? Round it, yeah. That'd be better than reducing the size. You want a very visible photo. You want something people can see. Okay. So let's see here. What do they do here differently? I think did you guys hit publish or did you hit? Did you? Let's see here. Okay. Something happened there. I'm not sure. Oh, by the way, if you click back into it, that's how you click back into it. If you click back into it like that, for whatever reason, it goes to the HTML mode first. So all you got to do is go up here, click on compose view. And for whatever reason, I'm not sure what happened there. That's interesting, Malik. Your photo's showing up the other thing. This happens all the time. It's the kind of crap you have to deal with. For some reason, it's actually showing up on the blog, but not here. I don't know why, but okay, published. Good. Okay. Yeah, see, this shows up. So you have to go over here, hit compose view. Yeah, switch. And there it is. Very good, Anthony. Okay, so let's do the view blog again. So there you go. Oh, that's interesting. This is the kind of thing that happens. I'm telling you, it is wackadoo. Okay, look at this. Look at this. It's not your fault, Destiny. It's not your fault at all. Don't worry. Actually, you know what the mistake I made there? I should have told you guys to do paste with formatting. Whenever you have to like enter something into a system like this, always do paste with formatting. Okay, that's the one. That's where you go like this, or you do a right click. Like if I did this, and then hold on. Yeah, I'm sorry, paste and match style. You don't have to do that right now. I'm just saying just always do that because then it'll acclimate to whatever the system coding is. Okay. That was a mistake I made. I should have told you guys to do that. Okay. No. Okay, view blog again. Yeah, it happened to, yeah, and that was my fault, Roshan. Sorry about that. Yeah, so yeah, what I would have to do is I would have to probably go into that and reconfigure it. You wouldn't, you know, it's kind of funny how that works that way. That's the kind of thing you run into, right? You know, where it doesn't, you know, come out exactly the way it's supposed to be coded. You know, it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to look something like this. Like that, by the way Malik has it. So, all right. But that was my fault because I told you guys, I forgot to tell you guys to paste and match style. Okay. Whenever you have to deal with this kind of thing, you should really paste and match style. Okay. Other stuff, like they never teach this stuff, by the way, wherever you work. You go to a news organization, you never teach this stuff. This is stuff that you have to learn on your own. Well, I'm telling you now. So just, like, hopefully, if you do go into the news in some capacity, and some of you do it already, just be aware. Maybe you'll recall this class someday and say, "Oh yeah," you know, maybe you'll be in the recesses of your muscle memory. And say, "Oh, he warned me about this, so. Okay. All right, maybe you have any questions about anything, or I just showed you, this is not something you're gonna be tested on. We just have the megalomania assignment that's left, okay, and then the rewrite of the Murphy thing. Let's do today, right? All right, so then we're gonna have a final assignment that will it'll basically encompass all the stuff that we talked about this semester and the 5 tools we talked about. So it'll include the graphic element. Just warning you ahead of time. That also will not be as challenging as it might sound. Okay, I'm not going to necessarily ask you guys to do graphic design from scratch. Okay. Again, the idea with this class is to kind of show you how journalists operate in a daily environment as quickly and expeditiously as possible. Okay. So, and how they handle graphics. All right. All right. Wow. We almost went to the end of class. Did you have any questions about anything? All right, guys, thanks very much. Next week, what we'll do is we'll work on the megalomania assignment because we use it as a workshop day because it's actually due at the end of that day. So kind of like make sure you got some information ready, you know, and maybe even like have the video ready to go, you know, there's video elements of it, okay? So we can work on it in class and I can look at it, okay?
I didn't agree that my video assignment this movie article.
Oh. You didn't? Okay.
No, I think I had one way.
Yeah, I think we talked about that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I emailed you copies and I also submitted it on
Okay. Oh, I thought I sent it to you. If you don't mind, please. You got me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's my own listing. I thought I put it.
I
All
don't.
right, I'm sorry. I thought I sent you something. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Apologize. Something got lost there. It must probably my fault. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Yeah, you too. I'll see you.